Welcome back to the We See Monsters channel. I'm your host, Jenna. I don't think I've ever told you guys my name this entire time. I am absolutely horrible, but yeah, that's my name. This week I have a really bizarre story that takes place in Rootstown, Ohio. It's a small area, but there's a lot of cryptid encounters told by the locals out there. This might end up being a two-part video where I'll split up the stories for you guys, but nonetheless, let's jump right into it. This took place in my small hometown of Rootstown, Ohio in October of 2019. I had recently bought some new trail cameras because my other ones had all vanished. At the time, I thought someone had probably stolen them as they were pretty nice cameras, but I didn't tell anyone I even had them, so that was a bit odd. Anyway, I took my four-wheeler out to the woods one day to set them up. I got about 6 of them, and as I was putting batteries in the last one, I could have sworn I heard someone whisper my name 3 times very quickly. I do own some cows not too far away, so I assumed maybe they made some noise and I was just imagining that it was my name. 5 days have passed since I've set up the cameras, and I haven't caught anything unusual. Maybe the occasional deer or raccoon. But one morning, when I woke up and checked my phone, I had 439 notifications from my camera, so I started opening them. But once I got to about 15, I realized there was nothing even setting them off. I skipped ahead to 100, 200, 300, and eventually the last one I got, which was at 4:53 a.m., and there was still nothing on the cams. I thought it was very strange for this to only happen to one of the cameras, but I decided to go out and check on it later. I thought maybe some moisture had gotten on the lens. After doing some work on my farm, I headed out to the woods to check my camera. At this point, it was around 8 p.m., so I was losing sunlight. I unloaded my four-wheeler from my truck and drove out to the spot. When I got there, I saw that the other 5 cameras were dismantled. I was pretty pissed off as they were all around $100 each. So now I was gathering up all the pieces, wondering, how the hell do I get a refund on this? Mind you, these were military-grade cameras that had been torn to actual tiny pieces. Just then, I heard the engine shut off on my four-wheeler, and I swear, I saw something duck into a bush nearby it. At this point, I upholstered my gun and said something like, "Hey, whoever is there better come out." I said it a few more times before deciding to take matters into my own hands. I walked over to the bush with my gun pointed at it, and as I came to the back of the bush, I saw no indication that there was anyone or anything there. Just when I went back over to the cameras, I got a call from a number I don't know. I didn't even hit answer, but my phone just automatically answered the call. It was just light static, followed by a few coughing sounds. And then there was someone in a distorted voice saying, "They? I think, it's probably too late now." And that was it. They hung up. It was really distorted, so it took me a minute to understand what they had even said. At this point, I still thought someone was playing a not very funny prank on me, so I drove back to my truck, drove home, got my rifle, and came back. I drove my four-wheeler back to the exact spot I was before. Now it was 10 p.m., so I had no sunlight. I had also grabbed my headlamp. I started wandering around the perimeter of where the cameras were, hoping maybe they might come back. I figured I should turn off my lights so they wouldn't know I was there. I was then basically blind, just relying on sound to tell what was happening. I waited for like 15 minutes before I heard leaves crunching, so I hid behind a tree and looked through my infrared scope to see what it was. I didn't see anything for maybe 2 minutes until I saw what looked like a normal human, so I assumed it was. I started to get up to confront them before I threw myself behind the tree because I realized that was not a human. It was on all fours. It had very light gray, almost pale skin color, yellow reflective eyes. It was very skinny, and its fingers had to be at least a foot long. I wasn't sure what to think at this point. Who the hell knows, maybe I just discovered a new species of animal? I started walking over to it, and as soon as it saw me, it stood up, and it was probably 8 feet tall. And I just knew whatever it was about to kill me, right there and right then. As I had a rifle in my hand, I shot it straight through what would have been its stomach. As soon as I did, it got back on all fours and crawled into the woods. I wanted to know what it was, so I followed it, although there was no way I could have kept pace with it. After running for 10 minutes, I saw a house out of the corner of my eye. It was an abandoned house. Assuming it was probably in there, I went over. I broke down the door and began to look inside. I had my headlamp on now, so I could see fairly well. I saw a bunch of weird items, including a guitar, a Mexican flag, deer and rabbit bones, sections of crudely skinned animal fur, Hershey's chocolate syrup, and a toaster. And then I heard glass breaking and very quick footsteps. It was coming up the hall, and so I pointed my gun directly at the door. As soon as it came in, I shot it, and then I chased it back into the hallway and shot it twice more. I saw it turn a corner, and then nothing. There were no footsteps or screeching. It was just gone. Since then, I have found numerous dead animals in those woods, from cats, dogs, coyotes, and even some of my own 200-pound cattle. I have looked for that house many times, and I can't find it. Was the house even real? I have no idea. I took my cameras out of the woods that night too, so I haven't seen it on camera, but I still hear it. Since then, it's gotten closer and closer, and now random rocks hit my windows at night. I found garden tools lined up in my driveway in the morning, pieces of mulch in my dog's water bowl, and even bones on my porch. One time, a tire hit the side of my house while I was watching TV. I didn't tell my wife about this until early 2020. When I did, she said there was something she didn't tell me either, because she didn't think I'd believe it. She had seen something looking at her making dinner through the window for 3 nights in a row. What should I do? What is it? Any suggestions are welcome. For more spooky content, you can click the links below to check out my TikTok and listen to the We See Monsters podcast.